If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there are so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you have come to expect. On this episode, we have an Army veteran and Purple Heart recipient who currently serves in the Missouri National Guard, Nick Sanders. Today, Nick discusses his new academy, building a jiu-jitsu community, his standards for promoting students, and how jiu-jitsu benefits veterans in their return to civilian life. Here is the RŌL Radio with co-owner and instructor at Revive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy, black belt under Leonardo Pecanha, activist and Army veteran, Nick Sanders.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we alive.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, let's get to the bottom of this. What's going on? I heard a rumor that you might be ditching the episode midway.
There's potential that I might have to step out for a moment.
Let's talk about this. We live in the public light.
Yes.
People, you know, follow us and so on, talk trash about us.
And
but
I mean,
let's just lay this out, okay? Let's make you the star of the show for a moment.
Okay, yeah.
For a
this
moment.
is not what I want to be known for, but you know I'm an open book. I'm doing a little prep work today.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm prepping for a colonoscopy.
Ouch.
So, well, I don't know. I'll be sedated, so I don't care, really. I mean, once I'm out, you can do whatever you want. But, yeah, so I just started about 15 minutes ago.
Uh-huh.
The first part's the easy part. That's the stool softener. So probably nothing's going to happen. I think I'm all right. But in a little over an hour, that's when the heavy work, the heavy lifting begins.
So that means towards the end of the episode, I might be on my own.
You might be. Well, I mean, I honestly will be fine. And I mean, I've worked, you know, there was a point in my life where I worked 3 jobs. I'm really good at holding it. I'll be fine. I'm going to be fine. I have full confidence that I'm not going anywhere.
Not that we want to get in detail here, but what I understand that you holding it has nothing to do with this.
Mind over matter, man. I just read a book about the Mushin mind. I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing's going to happen.
Is that right?
And if something does happen,
it makes a better show.
It makes a better show. And I got to do a little laundry. I might have to wash a chair.
No, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
But what's good about that is people don't know the studio doubles as your office, so you'll have to deal with whatever's lingering afterwards.
This is why I don't want to talk about
You brought it up, man. You want me to change the subject?
I'm regretting. I'm regretting right now.
Are.
All right, so what we started doing a few weeks ago, we opened the page on our website to get some feedback from you guys about your favorite episodes. We have a first winner, first draw. You know, Gary, take a read. What?
Yeah.
Who is it? What was the comment? And it brings it. What I understand is they're actually a very interesting episode that we've done quite ago, right?
Yeah, this was a long time ago, but it sounds to me like he just listened to it.
Yes.
And it helped him out a bit. So this is Jeremy Warren, and Jeremy just tore his ACL. And the episode he was referring to was with Roberto Correa,
Gordo.
right? And people who don't know about Gordo wrecked his knee and started developing the half guard and became known for it. So Jeremy obviously associates with that. And he's talking about his recovery. What I love about it is down at the end of his email here, he's talking about you
want to read it out?
It's pretty long.
Oh,
so
is it? Okay.
I just wanted to hit the highlights. He's a 44-year-old blue belt. And he is talking about the fact that he's looking forward to just being there on the mat, taking notes and talking to his friends, which is something that, when I tore my knee up a little bit, nothing as bad as his. But that was my first injury. And I kept coming and just taking notes and sitting at the edge of the mat. And it was very early on. I was still a white belt. And I think if I did not do that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Well, I think the connection to jiu-jitsu and to the community is so critical when you find ourselves in those hard points of injury or taking time off. The moment we do disconnect, unfortunately, our jiu-jitsu time gets replaced with other things, and then returning is that much more difficult.
Yes.
On top of the psychological impact that we have, and obviously our body is, pausing all the activities at that point of time. So, Jeremy, we wish you best of luck in recovery, and we'll be sending you an email. We'll be sending you an email. We'll get your address. We'll ship you the T-shirt. It's going to be coming your way, and then to help you with some of the recovery. You're getting 6 months of RŌL TV.
Yeah, and there's a nice some guy, Thomas, I forget his last name, has got a nice half guard series on there. So check that out.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, hopefully that will help you out. And then remember, if you haven't done it yet, go to our website, RŌLRadio.com. Tell us which episode you like the best. Leave us a note, and we'll draw another winner shortly in just a few weeks.
Cool.
All right, let's bring our guest in. Nick Sanders in the house. Nick, how are you? How is everything going?
Well. Everything's going good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great. Well, I'm doing great. Gary, we'll see in a moment, because who the hell knows what's going to happen in about an hour.
Hopefully he sticks around. Yeah.
If not, then, but this also gives you and I a beautiful opportunity to talk trash about Gary.
What is there to talk trash?
The
First
moment
of all, Nick
he
and I just
disappears, well, even better. But listen, first things first, I want to start with that beautiful, beautiful academy. I mean, you guys just opened this just a few months ago, right? But as I was doing research, and, I couldn't stop staring how the front, it's all open, all glass. I mean, I mentioned this before the show, but I'm a sucker for clean, beautiful, modern look, and I mean, I'm jealous. I mean, I'm jealous. So congratulations on that. Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's actually our second gym. We call it Revive 2.0. So our first gym, we had white mats, and they were the 2019 ADCC mats. We got them from Fuji on a discount. Yeah. Okay. So we're like, okay, we got white mats. Let's make just like white on black, that clean look. And this new academy, we went with black mats so they don't get as dirty, but we still have that black and white look, and it's amazing academy.
Yeah, I mean, looks phenomenal. And but speaking of white mats, how did that work? Because that was one of the point of contemplation on my part. My academy actually has a very similar look to yours. We have gray mats, wall wadding, white walls, and everything is white and all that. So very bright. I love that. But we did, for a moment at the beginning, we thought about white mats. And then I'm curious, how did that work?
It doesn't go well.
Okay. Yeah. I was discouraged from that look. But anyway, one more time, congratulations on that. I mean, it looks phenomenal. So it's always great to see others putting the point of success around the academies, around the communities, and really building that to what jiu-jitsu is today. And I think that's one of the beautiful things around jiu-jitsu, that it becomes more than just sport. I think when I look at 20 plus years ago, when I was starting, jiu-jitsu was more of I don't know if club is the place we can name it, but it definitely was not a business. It definitely was not a point where you build a family-like community with a professional approach. I think we've made a big changes in that direction. That evolution has taken place over the last couple of decades. What we see today, what are your thoughts on that? Is that look important? Is that clear appearance, that perception of a professional business important to those who run it?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm been in jiu-jitsu about 17 years, so almost two decades myself. So I started off in the gyms with the, cobwebs in the corner and jock straps and and just dirty. Yeah, just
really?
Gross. Oh yeah, just the gross fighter house kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so my business partner and I, Junior, we both decided we wanted to go kind of model it after that AOJ look.
Yeah.
That clean, because they have hundreds and hundreds of students, and there must be a reason why. And so we went with that clean, modern look. And now everybody that comes in that has trained at other places in the area, the first two things they say is, wow, your academy is beautiful and it's very clean. And those two things I think are the most important for a professional look for your business. Because we're not just training fighters. We have that family atmosphere. We want kids to enjoy jiu-jitsu. It's evolved a lot in the last, 20 years or so, like you said. So yeah, I agree 100%. It's super important.
Yeah. And I think you make a very valid point. It is more than fighting. It's more than self-defense. Matter of fact, more people we talk to, including the old school guys, they really emphasize the fact that it's beyond that. It's more of a lifestyle. It's you really want to embed yourself into the community. You want the community to become part of the academy. And that really what drives. You don't want one student. You don't want the dad. You want the dad, the kids, then the mom, and then the aunt, and everybody else, because that really what builds that cohesiveness within the academy. Am I wrong here?
No, exactly. I have, so my wife does jiu-jitsu. My two daughters dabble in it here and there. My two business partners, the husband and wife, they do jiu-jitsu. Their kids do it. We have multiple families that the son, daughter, husband, wife all train. And I think it's really important to build that community, as you talked about, where everybody feels welcome and happy and they enjoy going there. So it should be a place of like stress relief and enjoyment, and not a place like, oh man, I'm kind of dreading going here, but I want to learn how to fight. So the culture definitely shifted.
What do you think has changed, or why has it changed? Like, because if we look at this from a very raw perspective, jiu-jitsu is a way of fighting. I mean, we do fight every day, right? I mean, like, taking the big principles out of the equation and all this, I mean, the goal is pretty simple. Just like they are trying to choke me, I'm trying to choke them. So if we take this to a very raw level, it's a way of fighting. So why in the world does this have to be professional? Wouldn't it be better to be, clean, but more raw, more fight-like?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the popularity in America. Once it became very popular in America, in Brazil, my business partner is Brazilian. So in Brazil, like that's a way to get out of poverty. It's a way of, getting out of the favelas and into the mainstream and making money if you become a world champion. So you have to become a fighter.
Yeah. And
it's a different culture down there. So when it came to America, Americans were really good at business, and they realized, okay, like we want to get to a broader market, and how do we do that? And so we do that by cleaning up our gyms. We do that by marketing to families and becoming more friendly with people who don't want to be fighters. And if you look at an academy like mine, I would say 90% of my students don't do jiu-jitsu tournaments. They don't fight. They want to come in and get a good workout in and get the camaraderie and friendship. And so I think that's where the shift was when it became mainstream in America after The Ultimate Fighter. I think The Ultimate Fighter on Spike TV, #1, just blew up jiu-jitsu. That's when I got into it. And a lot of my friends that like third wave of American black belts got into it because of The Ultimate Fighter. And so when I think that hit and the Americans and some of those old school Brazilians came here and saw, wow, it's like, we can make really good money and we don't have to fight every day and put our bodies, on the line and destroy ourselves. I think that really made the difference in the shift culturally.
Well, and I think now you're mentioning something really important, is that business evolution of all of this, right? Because if we look at this, and again, I've never been to Brazil. I just heard stories, but when we go 3, 4, 5 decades ago, when all of this was not necessarily starting, but this evolution was kind of getting off the ground, right? Everything was about fighting. Everything was about honor. Everything was about defending the name. Was all about these conflicts between families and different flavors and styles and all the other things, right? And now we are talking about, it gets to United States where the business factor is getting introduced to all of this. It's like we actually can make money on this. We can actually evolve this into something where we can support ourselves. And you're talking about your wife and your business partners and all that. You know, listen, I was starting with Carson Gracie Sr. in Chicago, and like, I mean, I love them, man. But now in the retrospect looking, like the business factor over there was so minimal that one of the pioneers of jiu-jitsu, and I speak about this publicly, and many in Chicagoland will agree with this, a pioneer of jiu-jitsu, one who literally created this, you know, unfortunately didn't have the financial backing behind all this. He didn't make money on this. And it's such an unfortunate part. But that evolution, it came a little bit later. And do you think that will continue evolving? Do you think that jiu-jitsu academies will become more of an actual business? Or is there a place for those clubs, those fight clubs, the places where people scrap it and is not as professional?
So I think right now, I honestly think this is like the golden era of jiu-jitsu, because I really don't want it to go to like 1980s karate gyms where everybody gets a belt, everybody's happy. You know, we water things down. Nobody wants to get hurt anymore with sparring. So I don't want to do that route. So I really think we're in like where we need to be. We're in our good zone where we have guys who want to do competition and want to train competitively and do compete. And then we also have the families and the kids and the people who don't want to compete, but they still come in and train hard. Like at my academy, you know, everybody trains hard. We all roll hard. I emphasize, you know, safety first, but, you know, get your hard workouts in. So I think the evolution of it is we will continue to, you know, as gym owners, to keep that professional aspect, but I don't want to water it down to the point where, oh yeah, you know, you don't want to train, you don't want to roll. Okay. You don't have to roll. You don't have to spar and you still get a blue belt. Like that's just ridiculous to me. I don't think that's the route to go. So yeah, I think the best way to do it is, you know, we separate our competitors from our casuals. So if you got a guy who's a super hard competitor and wants to compete, we put him with other hard competitors. And then we also train them. Hey, if you're going with a casual, a newbie, you know, take it easy on them. Let them get some moves on you, get in bad spots, try to get out. So I think that's I think, in my opinion, I think that's the way to keep the art pure, but also maximizing your financial, you know, and business gains.
Well, and that has to be difficult. That has to be hard to appeal to the larger demographic, right? Making it accessible. And we know there are academies and affiliations which promote jiu-jitsu for everybody. Everybody should try it and so on. And, you know, everybody can get to the black belt. Do you think that is achievable goal? It's something that's reachable for everybody?
No, I think that's a pipe dream and a marketing scheme. I mean, let's be honest. Like, there are people, I'm sure you've had people at your academy who just don't get it. It might take them 40 years to get black belt. They might never get it. And I feel like that's okay. That's an okay answer. Not everybody becomes a medical doctor. Not everybody becomes an astronaut. So, you know, it's like, I think if we promote this idea, like, oh, you can, no matter what, if you keep coming, you get a black belt, it just waters down the art. And it honestly does a disservice, not to us as, you know, professionals and businessmen and guys who take this serious, but also to that person who has that false sense of idea of like, oh yeah, I'm a black belt, I'm tough, I'm this. But in reality, you're not, man. Like, you can go out there and you can get yourself hurt if you're, you know, being a McDojo black belt, unfortunately.
But yet so many do it.
I know, but
and when I'm not talking about 5, I'm talking about thousands. I mean,
I know.
And again, not taking away from anybody, we're just having a conversation here. But I think this is one of those forbidden topics in jiu-jitsu, like this taboo thing, right? It's like, does everybody get a blue belt? You know, does everybody get a black belt? Like, what criteria do we use? And I think, despite whether we agree with it or not, and I'm curious what you think about this, but despite whether we agree with this or not, this is one of the harder things for a lot of instructors, how do you grade the students? Because jiu-jitsu is one of those arts where there is no criteria. There is nothing written that allows the instructors to guide themselves and the students through this avenue, right? If you look at judo, there are specific requirements. Look at taekwondo, karate, whatever other art. There are specific things that you have to achieve. Agree with it or not. It's just, it is what it is. In jiu-jitsu, we don't have that. We don't have it. IBJJF is trying to do that in some ways, right? They have some guidelines and recommendations, but nobody's forced to follow them, right? So we have some of these academies who promote very quickly, right? We have academies, you get a blue belt after 8 months and, black belt after 5-6 years. And you have others where you have students literally blue belts for, 5-6 years, right? So like, how do you navigate through all of this? I mean, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is, and I feel like that is the hardest part of being a jiu-jitsu coach or an instructor, is figuring out when somebody's ready. So my standard that I usually tell my students is like, hey, look, compete once per belt. I don't care if you win, lose, draw. I don't care. You're just testing yourself, and that's why we do this art. So one time per belt. For me, that's a requirement. You got go out there and compete, give it a shot. That's if you're taking it serious. If you're not taking it serious, it might take you longer to get your belt. How you compete or roll with your partners of your same belt on the mats. So if you're a white belt, 4-stripe, and you're going against other white belts, 4 stripes, and you're just mopping the floor with them, you're probably ready for a promotion. If you're giving the blue belts, 1 or 2 stripe blue belts a hard time, you're probably ready for your blue belt. But if you're a 4-stripe white belt and some new guy comes out and just crushes you, or some 1-striper is, kicking your butt, you're probably not ready yet. So how you compare to your cohort, the guys you started with, or people of your same rank, compete once per belt. And then also just time on the mat. Like I do like the minimum time standards that IBJJF gives. They're not perfect, but it's at least a standard that where these guys who have been in the game for a very long time think, okay, well, this is what we think. I don't necessarily have to agree 100% with it, but I'm like, okay, well, this is a standard I can at least follow. So if you're coming 3 times a week, is it for a year from white to blue? That's your minimum time that I can promote you. I'm not going to promote you before that. So don't even ask. I think that's decent. But otherwise, it's very subjective. And when that question gets posed, I'm sure the same thing when somebody asks you, it's just like, man, it depends. It just depends. Yeah. So that's my best answer. It depends. Yeah,
no, I know. And that's the hard part. And then, at times you're running into a phenomenal wrestler, who I mean, like, he can mop the floor with most of the academy. It is what it is, right? He's competed for 6 years. Like, it's hard to compete with that, right? And then you have another, 50-year-old or 60-year-old individual who's coming in and starting and having the same expectations as you have of the 25-year-old wrestler. I mean, how is that fair? And the same, how do you juggle this?
Well, you just said the word right there is, I think, is expectations. And I think everybody, so I work the front. I see everybody from the time they pick up the phone till the time they enroll. And you have to set those expectations. If somebody comes in and they're like, how long is it going to take me to get my black belt? That's a long conversation we're going to have about a lot of different things.
Or a very short one.
Right. I just say, worry about getting your first stripe, buddy. Yeah. Just worry about that first stripe. Don't worry about that black belt.
But, it's so you have to set these people up with realistic expectations so that they're not a year into it and being disappointed, or like having everything up in the air where they don't know where they fit. I think it's you give them realistic expectations and they know where they are within the academy and they know where they're going to go within the academy.
Yeah.
And I was going to say on top of that too, conversely, you got that young athlete who's kicking the crap out of that 45-year-old dad that works 2 jobs. It's like, but that's not your age range. That's not somebody that you meet competition. Which is why I say, like, man, if you really want to test yourself, go do a competition with guys similar rank, age, and weight. And then if you kick butt there, then you're ready. But if you're in here just mopping the floor with casuals, then that doesn't really mean anything to me, especially if you're 20 years younger and an athlete. Like, I just don't put any emphasis on that. And I make sure I tell them so. Like, hey, bud, like, you're way younger. You're a college wrestler. Like, you should be beating these guys, even if they have more experience than you. Because I'm sure you guys have dealt with that before. These young guys come in, super athletic. Hey, I just beat up that purple belt. Yeah, he's 45. You're 22. You just graduated college. Like, relax, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, but also, like, you know, we're talking about this kind of a, I don't know, negative light of all of this, but also if you look at this from a positive perspective, like the mat is the equalizer, often being referred to, right? It's like you could have an engineer and whatever, a construction guy and a lawyer and a doctor all on the same mat. They very different ages, and they all can challenge each other from a different perspective. Right. And I think that is the beautiful part behind all of this, that really we could have a large, you know, diversity of individuals on the mat. And just because you are younger does not always mean that you can outsmart them, because, you know, there are some smart cookies out there. And, you know, we have some little females here who will literally freaking take your back and take your head off. Like, it, you know, and they will not feel bad about it either. So, you know, so it's like, that's the best part. Like, you can't underestimate these things. And there's a big part of that journey that everybody has to go through, and being humbled once in a while. It's a big part of it, you know, that little ego. I think we all have. I know I have an ego always. Like, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But getting humble, 100%. It's huge. It's huge.
Absolutely.
Nick, I mean, obviously, you know, great success. You have great community you have created. But at some point, long time ago, 17 years ago or so, all this started. And I often ask, do you remember your first day?
I do. I do. I had gotten out of the Army about a month prior, and I wanted to get an MMA. You know, I was like, I'm an athletic dude. I'm, you know, fought in a war. I'm ready to, like, let's do something. My next chapter, what I'm going to do. I wanted to do MMA, and I remember watching like reruns of UFC, and I was like, oh, I got to wrestle because of Matt Hughes. And then I saw him get choked out by a fat BJ Penn. I was like, dude, I have to learn.
I remember that.
I gotta learn jiu-jitsu. Yeah, remember? I was like, I gotta learn jiu-jitsu. So I found an academy. It was a at the time, it was Salo Ribeiro Academy in Mansfield, Ohio. And I walked in, and I had been lifting weights. You know, like, out of the Army, I'm in shape. I got there, and I remember the very first. It was a little guy. His name was RŌL Radio. He's a blue belt. And I probably outweighed him by 100 pounds. I was like 230. He was probably about 130. And he cross-collar choked me 6 times from close guard in like 3 minutes. And I was like, I talk about being humbled. I thought to myself, man, if this little guy could do that to me, imagine if I learned the same technique he did. I'd kill everybody. This is awesome. And so I fell in love. It was a great workout. And I just started out going like 3 times a week. And after about 6 months, I just was there pretty much every day training.
What do you think is so, and see, I'm laughing, he's laughing because he knows my story, and my story is literally almost identical to yours. You know, I was on the heavier side, not so fit.
Yeah,
I call it
big difference there. You were a different type of 230.
I was. It was more 250, but yeah, I call it Fluffy Thomas. But you know, I had, you know, the privilege of having one of my first days with Miguel Torres, and he was
a beast.
Yeah, and he was $130 or $120, whatever, getting ready for the fight, and he freaking beat the crap. I shout out to Miguel. I mean, I love the guy, and you know, he beat the crap out of me. I didn't even know what happened. Like, you know, it was a blur. But there was something for me personally. There was something extremely puzzling yet satisfying behind getting literally destroyed. What is it that, especially us guys, we are like, this is unlogical. This should not be literally physically happening right now. And yet, damn it, I got to go back and figure this out.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a puzzle. Like, I feel like it's, you know, like people say human chess and things like that. You're literally problem solving. Like, you know, I'm a guy, I like to fix things and do stuff like that. And so, like, when there's a problem, I want to try to fix it. I'm getting choked out. How am I going to fix that? You know, I want to beat this guy up. How can I do that? And I think that it is a puzzle that you can never solve. And I feel like that is why I'm drawn to it, because I want to I want to know as much as I can and try to solve as much of the puzzle as I can before I, leave this planet. And I think that's why I was drawn to it. It's just like, this is really cool. I'm learning something, and I'm actively problem solving, like in milliseconds at a time, trying to beat this other person doing the same thing to me. And I just, that's what I thought about it, like how I think about it. It's just a big puzzle you can never, ever, ever, ever finish.
So if you can't finish the puzzle, why the hell are we trying?
That's a good question.
That's a challenge. We love a challenge.
It's the challenge. Yeah. I like to push myself. I'm the type of guy that, always tries to seek self-improvement. And, if you're constantly working on something that can never be fixed, you're always self-improving. And, the challenge there is what I really like.
But yet again, I'm going to go back to this because no, but listen, this is interesting, right? Because a new student comes in, and you can testify to that, right? I mean, you have people coming in probably weekly, daily, or whatever it is, and it's new students come in and they have a very simple objective, whether it's losing weight, getting in shape, or I don't know, it's self-defense, or perhaps the black belt. Let it be, whatever it is. But there was a very specific goal. And now what we are saying is like, you will never fix that. You will never get there. You will never achieve this ideal point of knowing everything. It is unachievable right now. So why the hell do people start? Why are, like, how this doesn't make sense at this point, does it?
I think it goes back to your question, is jiu-jitsu for everybody? The guys who stick around want to continually problem solve. They want to they want to do this. The people that don't stick around are the ones who can't look beyond the fact that I'm not achieving my goal. Sometimes you have to shift your goals. My goal is like, I want to get my black belt in 6 years. Well, I'm getting my butt kicked every single day. Maybe I should shift that to 10 years or 12 years from now. Or, I might not ever get my blue belt. Now I'm starting to kick some guys' butts in the gym. I might get my blue belt sooner. So you're constantly shifting your goals. You're setting yourself new goals once you achieve the ones that are obtainable. But again, jiu-jitsu is not for everybody. It's for those guys who are ladies who minds think a particular way. And I don't know, I'm not smart enough to know how to describe that, but I think that's how it is. Where people that are built a certain way are the ones that stick this out and want this.
Would you agree that most of us, when we start jiu-jitsu, we have this objective, whatever it is, that gets us through the door? But longer we train, especially if we stick around past the purple belt level, somewhere there, then that goal is no longer as important as is the work on the goal. So you know what I mean? It's more about the grind. It's more about working, more about just, grinding it and really focusing on the progression versus on achieving this ideal point of whatever we're trying to, reach for.
Yeah, well, those belts, I often think, when you put it that way, the belt doesn't mean anything at that point, does it really? Because what you obtain that goal of blue belt, and guess what? Things are instantly that day harder for you because people, the higher ranks are looking like we're not going to be as nice, and the white belts are looking at you like that's who I want to destroy now, right? And it happens again at purple, it happens at brown, and we often talk about levels of black belts, and it probably happens at black belt too. So when you put it into that kind of frame, going back to expectations and goals, if people think about it during their journey, they can change their mindset. So you can make it for you when originally maybe you're not that type of person.
You bring up a good point because I remember I stopped caring about belts when I got my purple. Like I didn't even care about my purple as much. Like the blue, damn, I wanted that blue. That blue.
That's the first one. Everybody wants
that. Blue was like, right? Oh man, like a gold star.
And then get your ass kicked, and you're like, maybe this doesn't mean so much.
But once it happens for different people at different times. But like once you get the midway, somewhere around that purple belt, like you stop caring about the belts, you stop caring everything. You are so immersed into the jiu-jitsu itself that some of these things become less relevant, less important. I don't know, Nick, what do you think? Did you did you have the moment
I
where you
agree.
stopped caring about things and you just were there for training?
Yeah, well, I think definitely after blue belt, I was there just to train, because obviously everyone wants that first belt. That was the one I wanted the most, just like you. But I think honestly, I wanted to get my black belt really bad, not because like I want the black belt, it's because I'm a competitor. I wanted to compete against the best, and so where the best at, that's black belt. And so when I got there, that's when I was really like, man, my coach who promoted me, Leo Pecanha, he said, "Hey, now this is where the journey actually begins." And I was like, I didn't really know what he meant until I started doing, black belt competitions and then teaching more and things like that. And that's when at black belt was when I was just like, hey, this is awesome. Like I'm just here. If I don't care about the black belt anymore, I'm just here to train. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to learn. I'm here to coach. So for me, I think I rushed myself to get that black belt because I wanted to compete. But if I wasn't a competitor, I would say probably same thing around purple belt. I'd just be like, yeah, whatever, man. This is awesome. I'm just having a good time. So
Yeah, it's interesting how all that changes in our mind, the priorities and the focus, the goals, all that is continuously changing. And I might be wrong on this, but jiu-jitsu is probably one of the few, if not the only art where it takes that amount of time to really gain some comprehension, let alone become an expert. Like, and I don't have many experience with other arts, but what I'm hearing based on what books I'm reading is that point comes in much sooner in other arts, but because of the diversity of what we're dealing with, several thousands of moves and then flavors on top of it and then different styles and all. I mean, it creates thousands upon thousands of options that we have to maneuver through. And that brings kind of brings us to the point where you were talking about. It's impossible to really gain the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, man, there's something new that comes out on the internet every single day.
Oh yeah.
Like BJJ Fanatics comes out with some stuff. I'm like, I have never seen this before.
Yeah.
I've been a black belt for 9 years. I don't know what the heck I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's almost impossible to know. It is impossible to know everything. So yeah, I mean, you have to have a particular drive, and I always like talking about expectations and goals before. I tell all my new people, I'm like, all right, man, so we got a saying in the military. It's like, hit the 25-meter target first. And that's the closest target. So what's your closest goal? Show up, just walk through the door, come 2 days a week. That's your closest goal. If you can achieve that for a couple months, you're a better person. Next goal, you start doing that. Next goal, okay, I want to try to, come 3 days a week, or I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to try to get ready for a competition. So I think the way to keep like people engaged and like for myself too, like I always try to try new moves and things like that, but it's like, just focus on what's the easily attainable. And for many, many, many new people, it's just showing up, just come through the door. And so that's why I always tell them, like, my spiel about expectations and stuff is, hey man, look, in 6 months, there's going to be a fresh crop of new white belts in here, and you're going to be kicking their butt. You're going to get your butt kicked for a long time. But, after 6 months or so, you're going to see the difference. You're going to see, oh man, this technique does work. And the best way to get to that point is just show up. So,
what's interesting about this, that literally today, right before this episode, I finished teaching a morning class, and I was talking to a couple of my students, and they go like, I remember doing this literally 3 months ago. I was in a class and I was doing this, and it was my week 1, and I had no clue what the freaking you were talking about. And today we went over the same thing, and it's like, this all makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I was like, there you go, go, right?
That's awesome.
It's like these little epiphanies that we have. So you serve in military?
Yes, sir. I'm still in. I'm in the National Guard now, but I was active duty for 4 years. Yeah,
for 4 years. How was that experience?
You know what? I loved it. A lot of people don't like it. I loved it. I joined right after 9/11. I was a senior in high school, so I enlisted like 2 weeks later. And after I graduated, shipped off to basic training at Fort Benning, and then was stationed in Germany for about a year. And then I was OIF2 or Operation Iraqi Freedom 2. I went to Iraq in 04 to 05. So, so from going to basic to Iraq, I think it was like a year and a few months. So then I was in Iraq for a year, got out of Iraq, did some recruiter duty, and then hated recruiting and got out and went to college. And then I had missed being in the military, so I decided to just go back in the Guard, and I retire in a few years now. So almost 20 years in.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for the service that you've done for the country, for all of us. You know, I coincidentally, actually, this past weekend, one of our junior coaches here from years ago, he enlisted about 3 or 4 years ago, and he's stationed in Japan, and this weekend he just he came by and he flew back in to visit his family and all that, and I had an opportunity to have dinner with him. And what an interesting way to have these comparison points before you go into military and then after, or in the middle of it after just a few years, because I haven't seen him in 3 years or 3+ years. And shout out to Lorenzo, by the way. But what an interesting way how very fast we grow up, very fast we mature up, and especially for a young man stepping into those shoes and going through these motions. But one thing he did say is that if he hasn't done jiu-jitsu before the military, he has no idea how the hell he would go through it. Like he was saying, from the troubleshooting points to the way how the mental health, how he was able to figure stuff out and just, behavioral things under pressure and during these situations that, he finds himself during trainings. It was quite mind-blowing how the conversation was going, hearing from such a young individual. I mean, he's in his 20s, but young. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, young compared to me.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But it was interesting, the connection, and this is not the first time I'm hearing about this. We've had several guys, including Nick, right, who made a huge impact on jiu-jitsu, made an impact on him, saving his life and all that. But I'm curious how that looked from your perspective, because you joined in jiu-jitsu after the military. Right.
Yes.
So, I mean, what impact that made for you? You're out of military and you stepping onto the mat. Is that a good thing or bad?
Man, it was amazing. So when I was I got a Purple Heart from Iraq. I was blown up in Iraq by a car bomb. I had some issues when I came back to the civilian world with coping and being back as a civilian, and being on the mats and being able to have that camaraderie again. I felt that like belonging again, because when you're in the military, you're part of a group, like a very specialized group of people, and you have a purpose and a belonging. And so when I got out, I kind of lost my way a little bit. I was like, I hadn't been out for that long, but I just felt different. And then when I got onto the mats, I felt like I actually was a part of something again. And it helped me, like I said, I really firmly believe that if I hadn't done jiu-jitsu, I'd be an alcoholic or a druggie or something like that, just to kind of cope with some of the crap that I had gone through. But, jiu-jitsu just really helped me become normal again. And being on the mats got a lot of that PTSD and stress out of my system. And, I felt good. I felt good doing it. And I actually, at our gym, we have so many veterans that come in and they say that they have the same story. They're like, man, like this really literally saved me. It saved my life. One of my really good friends, Dan, he was in the Army around the same time as me, got out. He did like 13 years of private contracting in Afghanistan. So he was over there forever. And he came back and kind of lost his way. He had a son, and he wasn't doing the contracting anymore. So that part of his life just like it was very abrupt done. And he kind of lost his way a little bit, and PTSD was pretty bad. And then when he got into jiu-jitsu, he's like, dude, that just saved my life. It calmed me down. It made me just a happier, stronger person, and it helped him mentally. And there's a bunch of guys like that at my gym, including myself. So jiu-jitsu is awesome.
Well, and so let's dig into it a little bit more, if you don't mind. That is because it is a fascinating, fascinating transition, if you will, right? And for an outsider like myself, I've never served. I don't know what you guys see. I can only imagine from the stories that you guys tell, and it cannot be easy. And then you return into this civilian life, which one would think this is what you're aiming for. You don't want to be there anymore. Yet you can't be here, right? And then you stumble upon this thing that's known as a jiu-jitsu, which somebody's trying to put force on you, and yet all of you guys, without any exception, you tell me that this is actually refreshing for you. So if we look at this as an outsider, this doesn't make sense. Break this down for me. What is so refreshing or what is so satisfying about jiu-jitsu that helps those who go through these traumatic events to disconnect from that and really make sense from their life?
So to your earlier point, people get out of the military. People hate the military not because of the military. They love it. They love the job. They love the people they're with. They hate the rules of the military, which they suck. But I've been in for almost 20 years. A lot of the rules and stupid arbitrary stuff causes a lot of guys to get out. But they still possess that fire that got them into the military in the first place. But a lot of guys feel let down by the culture of the military, of the leadership, or whatever you might call it. So they still have that desire to want to serve, but they feel like they don't belong anywhere to serve. And then when they get in the civilian world, they feel as though they don't belong. A lot of these people don't understand me. They don't know what I went through, or they don't deserve. A lot of these people suck. Guys think this way, and so they feel like they're in that no man's land. They don't belong to any group. They're no longer in the military. They're no longer with. They don't feel like they're a part of the civilian populace. So I think with jiu-jitsu, a couple things happen. It helps them reintegrate with civilians. It helps them reintegrate with people who's never served before and see that, hey, yeah, these people aren't all that bad. They have that sense of belonging to a group again. And then with the PTSD part, post-traumatic stress disorder, the stress is the big word that I'm going to talk about here. Is the best way to relieve stress is exercise. And it's been proven, endorphins are released every time you exercise, you feel better about yourself. So I think that the stress of jiu-jitsu, somebody trying to take your head off and choke you, you are hyper focused on one moment. You focus on, how am I going to stop this guy from choking me? You don't think about things that happened in Iraq. You don't think about things that are going on during your day. So your stress is melting away. The only thing you really think about is stopping that guy from choking me. How am I going to pass this guy's guard? How am I going to hold him out? And so when you do that, all the other stressors kind of melt away. And, it gives you that temporary reprieve. And then eventually it just lasts longer and longer and longer. And then your stress just gets less and less and less. So I think that's why a lot of vets really like that. They become hyper-focused on the training itself and living in the moment. And they forget about the other traumatic events in their lives.
Well, yeah, and it's we talked about this topic so many times on the show, and we even have multiple people here at the academy who serve similar to you, and they literally, the testimony is almost the same every single time. This is my time to disconnect. This is my time where nothing else matters. It's just this moment right now, that pause in time, and nothing else really exists around me. Right. And yet it's so difficult to imagine the simple thing like jiu-jitsu would really make such a huge difference, because oftentimes it really changes the way how the life is going. Right. Especially with, individuals who, do have the PTSD factor surrounding them. And really that's a very difficult point. Right.
Yeah, it is. And, unfortunately, I've lost quite a few friends to, PTSD, and they self-medicate, things like that. And I always try to tell them to go to jiu-jitsu. I think a lot of them would still be here if they'd gone. But yeah, just that hyper-focused on the present, and forgetting about everything else, I think is what is the biggest contributing factor that jiu-jitsu can do to really help veterans cope with their PTSD.
So what can we do? What can we do for those who do need that jiu-jitsu as instructors and as a training partners? How can we contribute in a positive way to give others the opportunity to train? I mean, granted, it's their choice to come in or not, but I think we can make this more welcoming, can't we?
For sure, yeah. So, like at our gym in particular, all first responders and military veterans, they all get a discount. But with the military guys in particular, I think it helps, at least in my gym, that I'm a black belt. I've been through their struggles. Almost 20 years ago, I left Iraq. Yeah, it's almost 20. So, I fought in a war. I got blown up. I lived their life, same exact life they lived. And I think they can see me as an example of like, oh man, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So whenever I get veterans in, I always make it a point to like talk to them, tell them my story, say, hey man, like you're a part of this crew here now. Like we're here for you. We're not just here just jiu-jitsu wise, but man, if you ever want to talk about stuff or if you're having any difficulties, and I know it's hard to talk to civilians about military and life and what happened to you, I'm always here for you, man. So I think that's the best way for us as instructors to help these veterans deal with things, is just be open with them and make them feel like they belong to a group of people. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of veterans miss, is that sense of belonging.
Do you think that extends even beyond the military individuals to people who, find life struggling? I mean, it's depression is so visible these days, and even I was recently reading, the numbers are just ridiculous. Like the amount of kids who suffer through depression and anxiety, it's not even alarming. It's like, what is going on?
It is, yeah, it's an epidemic. It really is.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. Do you think we can take a similar approach to a larger group versus just individuals from military?
Oh, absolutely. I think this isn't just specific to the military. I think that, just as long as if they're coming through the door in the first place, if they're just coming there, they're looking for something. So finding out what they're looking for, most of the time, it's getting in shape. These are the big ones I hear. I want to get in shape. I want to lose weight. I want to learn self-defense. But there's another reason why, like, somebody by themselves just would walk into a jiu-jitsu academy, a bunch of people fighting each other on the ground. There's another reason. And so I think if you like dig deeper and you talk to them about things, I feel like it is a sense of belonging. A lot of my clientele are, in the masters divisions, 30 and up. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, they want a group of, like, at least the guys, they want to feel like they're a part of a group of guys. They want to feel like they're with the boys again. Mm-hmm. And that one day a week, 2 days a week for an hour, they get to hang out with the boys and have a good time. And I think that helps. It helps with their depression. It helps make them feel like they're a part of something. And I feel like that's what is missing. Not to get all, philosophical and things, but like, back in the day we had churches. People used to feel like they belonged to a church. They had their community. Now, or just even their community. I'm Italian American, and I grew up in the Italian part of St. Louis. And, all the Italians stuck together. They had a community. I feel like we don't really have that as much anymore. So the jiu-jitsu can be that person's community, essentially.
It's funny. I said this, the T-shirt story. I said this.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I said this story so many times on this show, but it's like, it comes out to my mind. It's like I was at the airport. This is a couple years back, but I'm at the airport filling out my water bottle, and there's a guy behind me, and I look back, he has a jiu-jitsu t-shirt, and I'm like, what's up? Mm-hmm. And like, literally, we just start talking. We just talking, and literally 15, 20 minutes later, they're calling my flight, and I don't even know the guy's name, and we're just talking, and like, that bond, that, what?
Well, no, I was at a parade, and I was standing on the barrier of the parade, and one of the guys marching was wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt, and we saw each other. I was wearing probably this hoodie, and he like ran over, Never saw the guy before, gave me a hug, and there he goes. He just kept going down the parade route.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
That's awesome.
I could be wrong, but you don't see CrossFit guys doing this. I got nothing against CrossFit guys, but I'm just saying the bond is different. The bond is different. But that's phenomenal. I think that community really, it kind of goes back to the very beginning of this conversation when we started, creating a safe professional environment for individuals to train. But, now we are talking about the community factor, right? The connection, that bond between men and women, and I think that's similar. We're talking often about guys, but I think similar thing happens with the women. Like they get this little much smaller, oftentimes much smaller group, but the bond is so ridiculous. Like even though, I recently found out that the girls who train the women who train in my academy, they have their own group text going on, and they text each other, all the other stuff, and the guys are not allowed into the it's a whole
very
thing.
exclusionary.
It's a whole thing. They're very territorial about this, and
So yeah, we have something similar. So our team, we're part of TAC team. I'm sure you know Mark Vivez.
Absolutely. We know Mark. Yeah, Mark.
So,
I trained with Mark way back in the day with Carson Gracie Sr. Yeah, Mark's
the stud.
Yeah.
So we have a girls team or ladies team in Kansas City. There's several in the St. Louis area, and Chicagoland area. They literally they have their own Facebook page and their own group, and they all message each other, and then they try at least the girls in St. Louis and Kansas City. Once a month, they'll travel to each other's gyms just to train with each other.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. They're really tight in that group.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, that's what you want, right? That's what you want
For sure.
You want that connection. You want that bond. You want. Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
We have a Maltipoo. I don't know what his deal is. Hey, Teddy. Sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, don't
we are dog suckers.
Yes.
We are dog suckers. So.
Yeah, he's a
dog lovers, Thomas. Dog lovers.
Gary, how you doing, by the way?
I'm fine.
Are you still holding back?
I'm not holding anything back. I feel if it's going to happen, it's just going to happen.
Yeah. I don't feel the same way. I'd rather not for it not to happen. Okay?
I'll be fine. You'll be fine too. I'm good.
This show is going places. So, community, we have place to train, safe place to train. What is the next step? What is the next milestone for you particularly, or for many out there who've been on the mat for a very long time? It seems like you've accomplished quite a bit. You have the academy, you teach. There is a point of success that many would recognize as that. And why do we continue doing this? What's driving you to continue doing this?
So I think my short term goal next couple of years is I want to be able to walk into my gym or get ready to teach the adult class and have 80 guys and girls on the mats, just all different ages, sizes, shapes, everything, just there to have a good time. So I want to pack jiu-jitsu academy, and we do 2-3 classes a night. I want every single class to be full like that. That's my short-term goal, business-wise. And also impacting people's lives. I think my long-term goal is I have a few kids in the kids class, started at white belt, gray and white, yellow, all that stuff. I want them to be my black belt in 10 years, 15 years. I want them to teach the classes. I would feel like that is a measurement of my success as a coach and an owner of a gym, to where I have a kid that I brought up from, 7 years old. He's now 28, 29 years old, black belt, teaching majority of classes, competing, doing whatever he wants to do. I think that's my goal, is just to develop this next generation of kids to be good jiu-jitsu practitioners, good coaches, good competitors, just good people in general. That, I feel like that's my long-term goal. So short-term, huge gym sizes, teach as many people as I can, have fun doing it. And then long-term is to be able to eventually hand over my gym to somebody that I grew up from a child to black belt.
But so let me ask you about this. Many actually look at this black belt rank as I'm on top, I'm the leader, I'm the owner of the academy, I'm the highest ranked on this mat. and you are talking about the succession plan. You're talking about being replaced by somebody, right? And often those two collide with each other, right? How can you be thinking about somebody replacing you if you are supposed to be the top dog, if you're supposed to be on the top of this food chain, right? How is this unfolding in your mind? Like, why are you looking for a replacement? Why is this your goal versus, something else?
Well, I know that I'm a realist. I know one day I'm going to be an old man, and people don't like a lot of people don't like learning from old guys. But I learned this from the owner of Alliance, Jacare Cavalcanti, and he's a coral belt, red and black belt, and he owns the Alliance Association still. He takes classes now from Leo Nogueira. He sits in on the classes. He just is a student. He just wants to have a good time. And I think that's what it really is about. It's like, yeah, right now I'm the top dog, sure, whatever. Me and my business partner, we own the place. But eventually we gotta look about keeping Revive, the name itself, alive. It's not Nick Sanders Jiu-Jitsu Academy, it's not Junior Silva Jiu-Jitsu Academy, it's Revive. The name is gonna outlast us. So, I wanna build something up for people that I think are good human beings that can represent, Revive Jiu-Jitsu and what Junior and I, want to show the world. And it's a reality. I'm a realist, and I know, like I said, I'm not going to live forever. Somebody's got to take on the crusade after I'm gone. And so I wanted to be somebody that, like I raised up from a kid to an adult under the system.
Why do you think this is so difficult for many others to acknowledge the fact that, at some point I have to pass the baton. At some point I have to step back because there are others, not only that I'm getting old, but the fact that there are others who can do the job better than I can. Why is this so difficult?
Ego is the biggest thing. And I think too, a lot of the times, like a lot of guys, they do buy into their own BS where it's like I am the man. People are here for me. I mean, maybe, but people are here to learn jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is bigger than you. And the other thing too is like guys, like people don't want to believe in their own morality. We're humans. Like we are destined to die at some point. And so our legacy is what lives on, not us. And I feel like people don't really understand that, or they don't, or they wait until it's too late to realize it. And then they drove a lot of people off, the people that could have replaced them. So,
yeah, that succession plan is so important in my mind, at least. I mean, it's, and I don't know about you, but, I would love to be in a position where the place runs itself there,
yes,
where we don't have to worry about it. And this is like my, a business mind speaking here. I mean, it's, you don't see Apple being dependent on Tim Cook or Amazon being dependent on, whatever, even that's not the point. The point is that the processes and systems are in place, and this carries beyond the individual. This is the brand. This is the bigger picture, making impact on the community that we talked about so much today.
Well, and I think the other thing too, I think about as well is like, all right, do I want to compete against another gym owner that I taught and he's better than me at it? No, I don't want to compete. I'd rather have him run my gym for me, make me the money. Yeah. I don't like why split the pot when I can just, try to get us all the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think of us too as a businessman. I don't want to home grow my own competitor.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which is a separate conversation. We're not going to get into that, but people do go up through these ranks and learning curves, and they do depart going in different directions, and that's very common these days, which is not as common. Used to be not as common. This, going down
because it's a business now, right? People can see themselves in your roles. Yeah. I can achieve that. I can do that. So they go off and they want it, and they do it on their own.
Yeah. So that opportunity
is true.
There. Right? That opportunity is there. Yeah. So interesting parts, interesting conversation. Nick, before we start wrapping this up, what we do end of each episode is we have a question from you from a previous guest. The previous guest did not know who's going to be answering, so he asked the question completely in blind. You actually might be surprised who the guest is, but this is actually interesting.
So this is from Felipe Simplicio, who was actually here at the Chicago Open and stopped by and taught. What a great guy, man.
Yeah,
awesome
JT Torres black belt,
Yep.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
And his question is, it's a two-parter. What is the best advice you have ever received? And what is the worst advice you have ever received?
Oh, man. Man, that's a really, really good question. Best advice. Man, I got to rack my brain on that one. Oh, okay. Well, on the business side of things, this was probably some of the best advice business-wise I ever learned from my former coach. He always talked about the 5 F's. Have you heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
Friends and family, F you first. So on the business side, think about we always want to, as a businessman, you want to get as many people in as you can. And you're like, oh, my friends. But the friends and family are going to take advantage of you first. So as a businessman, I think it's really important to if you just keep it neutral with everybody, you show everybody the same amount of respect across the board, instead of favoring your friends, favoring your family, pushing other people away. Just respect across the board, treat everybody equal. They will respect you more. Your students will respect you more as a businessman because you're unbiased and you are a neutral party to everyone. And so they don't feel like, hey, I'm getting screwed over. My coach is giving this dude a discount over here, or he's helping him out more than he's helping me, and they get mad at you. So if you just treat everybody equal and everybody the same, you're going to be very successful. So I thought that was business-wise, that was some of the best advice I've ever gotten. And I implement that even to today with my current business.
Yeah, Gary and I, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but the thought is always in my mind is that, if you're such a good friend, if you're such a big family member and very close to me, pay more. Yeah. Stop asking for discounts. Support me.
Yeah. I remember I learned that lesson. I had a friend that was in the bar business, and it was like, oh, you're young and he's in the bar business, and you think, oh, you're going to go in and you're going to get a discount and stuff. And then you realize,
they charge you.
Right. And you're like, oh, and then you realize that, no, I need to support him. He's not here to give stuff away. I'm here to support him.
I know.
And I have friends that are artists that the same thing. Somebody goes to their showing and they're like, oh, I really want that piece, but I don't want to spend that money. Well, no, I want that piece. I'm going to spend whatever that ticket says underneath it, so you got to support them. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the other thing too is they're willing to spend full amount on some stranger's product. Why wouldn't they spend full amount on your product?
Right.
And so yeah, like that. I thought that was just some of the most sound advice I ever got as a businessman. Yeah. So yeah.
What's the worst?
What's
advice?
the worst?
Worst advice.
Come on, lay it out. No names, but lay it out. I want to know.
Oh man.
Jiu-jitsu is for everybody.
Yeah, you know what? That might be some of the worst slogan I've ever heard, because it's not. But worst advice. I'm trying to really think. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I've gotten any super terrible jiu-jitsu advice.
It is a hard one. I'm racking my brain here. I know a couple of what the good is, but I can't think of anything about what's.
I think the worst though. Probably the worst advice anybody can get is whenever you're cutting weight. So some of the worst advice I've ever got was how to cut weight.
Do it the way I'm doing it today. I'm going to lose a lot of weight today.
You will lose a lot of weight. You will lose a lot.
We should have done this. We should have weighed you right before officially on the show.
I haven't. Nothing's left. Nothing's left yet, so we could do it after the show.
Yeah, I think the worst is guys just be like, hey, yeah, man, just go sit in the sauna for 30 minutes. Get out, sauna again. You'll lose 10 pounds in one day, kind of stuff. I've gotten some pretty crappy advice from people on cutting weight. I can't, but otherwise, honestly, I've kind of dealt with some really cool people in my jiu-jitsu career. So
good for you,
I haven't gotten too much crappy advice. Yeah.
Good for you. Thanks. Well, good for you. Good for you. I mean, that's important, being surrounded by people who make you better. People who
Yeah,
allow you to
100%.
grow, who support you no matter what the circumstances are, right? All right, Nick. Well, before we start officially and kind of start wrapping this up and finalize the episodes, finalize the conversation, where can people find you? Where's your academy, social media, websites? I mean, I may drop everything right now. We'll post, as always, everything in the show notes, so everybody who wants to contact you, they can freely do so. But talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so on Facebook, it's just Nick Sanders. Pretty easy. I mean, there's probably thousands of us out there, but
there is. There is.
Yeah, there's a lot. On Instagram, though, it's Nick Sanders AJJ for American Jiu-Jitsu. I'm just being a little controversial there. And then our team is called Revive BJJ. So we have an Instagram, it's Revive BJJ, same thing as Facebook. And then our website is revivebjj.com. We are in St. Charles, Missouri. It's just outside of St. Louis, right across the Missouri River. So come on by if you're in the area and get some good training in.
Cool. As always. Absolutely. If you're ever in the Chicago area, swing by.
Yeah.
My academy is the southwest side from Chicago. So
my wife is from the Bloomington, Illinois area.
Yeah, that's not far. That's not too far.
It's down there.
It's down there. It's not too far.
Well, her mom lives pretty close, actually. Her mom lives just south of Kankakee or something like that.
Kankakee.
Kankakee.
Yeah, Kankakee. Yeah,
it's not too far from
That's
that.
not too
Yeah.
far. That's not too far.
Okay.
That's a
So next time you come up to see the mother-in-law, just keep going a little further northeast, and
just don't stop, right? Just
don't stop. Just keep going. Priorities.
push her out, and keep driving.
Skip the family, go to jiu-jitsu. That's right. That's right. All right, Nick. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for spending time with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and journey and the whole 9 yards. What a great conversation. We do appreciate everything that you do for jiu-jitsu community, and we'll be watching from sidelines as your business continues growing. Gary?
Yeah, thanks for everything. Thanks for your service, and thanks for a really great conversation. So appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's awesome. Thank you guys.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.